વીસી મેડમનો પણ મેસેજ આવી ગયો.
Namaskar, very good noon to all of you. As we know, friends, today we are together in this live inauguration function of 18th online Guru-Dakshta program. So as we know that this is our faculty induction program, and this faculty induction program are very important because they help educators develop professionally. These programs introduce teachers to curriculum development, teaching methods and evaluation techniques. They also cover technology-enabled teaching and learning and equip the faculty with knowledge of university rules, regulations, basics of governance and administrations. So friends, I am welcoming all of you. I'm very happy to welcome our respected Honorable Director of MMTTC Gujarat University, Professor Dr. Jagdish Joshi ji, under whose guidance this MMTTC has developed so many courses and created history in this online induction programs and all the courses of MMTTC Gujarat University. I'm also welcoming our today's inaugural functions chief guest Professor Aarti Srivastav ji and my senior most colleague Professor C.G. Brahmbhatt ji and all the participants of this faculty induction program. So first of all, I'm requesting my team of MMTTC Gujarat University for our university song.
वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन. गुजरात युनिवर्सिटी आपणी, गुजरात युनिवर्सिटी आपणी विद्यातणु तपोवन. वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन.
राष्ट्र चेतना कला साधना खेल भावना विकसे.
विश्व मानवी बनी गुजराती विश्व सकल માં વિલસે. સ્નેહ સંપ સહકારની સાથે દેતી તું સન્મતિ. સૌના સાથને સંગાથે સૌ સિદ્ધ કરે ઉન્નતિ. પ્રેમ બંધુતા સમાનતાના પલ પલ પ્રસરે સ્પંદન. વંદન અભિનંદન, વંદન અભિનંદન, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन. गुजरात युनिवर्सिटी आपणी, गुजरात युनिवर्सिटी आपणी विद्यातणु तपोवन. वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन.
राष्ट्र चेतना कला साधना खेल भावना विकसे.
विश्व मानवी बनी गुजराती विश्व सकल માં વિલસે. સ્નેહ સંપ સહકારની સાથે દેતી તું સન્મતિ. સૌના સાથને સંગાથે સૌ સિદ્ધ કરે ઉન્નતિ. પ્રેમ બંધ प्रसरे स्पंदन। वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन।
Thank you so much, Janki Man and Jhalak Man. Friends, as we know that this is the inaugural session of Faculty Induction Program. So now I'm requesting my Dynamic Director of MMTTC Gujarat University for his inaugural speech. Before it, let me just, because this is not the introduction, when we hear him, this is his words are the introduction of himself. So Dr. Joshi, ex-officiating Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, is a professor and director at UGC Malaviya Mission Teachers Training Center, Gujarat University. James Rene Canadian Center, Online Teaching, Learning and Communication Cell, Director of Center of Distance and Online Education, Officer for International Affairs and Head of Department of Linguistics of Gujarat University, Ahmedabad. He is the chairperson nominated by Honorable Governor of MP of the Search Committee for the appointment of the Lokpal of MP government. He is the president of Indian Association for Canadian Studies. He is the coordinator of MHRD ARPIT in English language teaching and National Testing Agency. He is closely associated with various national and international professional bodies and actively engaged in teaching, training, research, e-content development, translation, editing, compilation, consultancy, and social activities. So he is leading this MMTTC Gujarat University. So sir, I am requesting you for your inaugural speech. Professor Dr. Jagdish Joshi.
Thank you very much, Preeti ji. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, Dr. Nirja Gupta ji, Dr. Aarti Srivastav, Professor of Higher Education in NIPA, Professor Chandrakant Bhai Brahmbhatt, Professor of MMTTC, and Professor Preeti Mayani ji, distinguished colleagues and newly appointed assistant professors. The purpose of education is to replace an empty mind with an open one. It is indeed a great honor to stand before you today as we gather to commence this faculty induction program, which is named as Guru-Dakshta. This initiative, carefully designed to empower our young educators, marks the beginning of a transformative journey for each of you. You are not merely stepping into classrooms, but are joining a community of learners and teachers, where knowledge and values are shared, and where we collectively strive to inspire the minds and lives of young people entrusted to our care. Gujarat University is one of the foremost university of Gujarat. It has its legacy. It has been established in 1949. We are A+ NAC ranked, and if I say about GSIRF and SIRF, in SIRF, we are consequently since last 4 years, we are in top 100 universities of India. In SIRF, we are at the top rankings, and this is the university which has its own legacy. Friends, this MMTTC, also you are aware of, that we are one of the oldest academic staff college, then HRDC, and then now MMTTC. So this is a journey of years, journey of helping professionals to be more equipped in their professional pursuits. The faculty induction program is not just an orientation, but a foundational experience that is designed to transform you from being scholars in your field to become impactful teachers and mentors. This induction emphasizes adopting a learner-centered approach, which is essential to connect with students in today's world, where technology and digital resources are embedded in their everyday lives. Guru-Dakshta will also equip you with new age pedagogical tools introduce you to student assessment methodologies, and foster your growth in research and services. The significance of such program lies in comprehensive approach, which focuses on developing both personal and professional skills in you, from impersonal relation to teaching strategies, from, we can say, interpersonal relations to each other, to teaching strategies, institutional support, and career development and advancement. Faculties are encouraged to foster environment that are supportive, inclusive, and conducive to innovative teaching and research. This induction program is manifestation of our commitment to provide you with supportive and empowering environment right from the one set of your teaching journey. There are many benefits of this program. Then the importance of this program is also to be discussed, but I guess I'll just talk about one or two important takeaways. And as we have our guest and Honorable Vice Chancellor, we'll listen to them, and after their speeches, I'll talk to you for a while. This program, as I told you, is structured in various modules, each addressing a different aspect of teaching and teaching profession. We are going to cover higher education ecosystem, curriculum design and assessment, teaching, learning and assessment, technology in education, research, and academic leadership. So these are the areas which we are going to cover during this program. What is the SIP, how we will go for it, what is the SOP of this program, how we will conduct this, that all is already communicated. But yes, I'm going to discuss that with you. In closing, I would like to remind you that the education is not merely about transfer of knowledge, but about nurturing character, fostering empathy, and instilling a lifelong passion for learning. As newly appointed assistant professors, you are at the beginning of an enriching journey. Embrace this induction program with an open mind, learn from your mentor, and actively engage in all activities. Your role in higher education system is both vital and impactful. Remember, your influence as educators, as teachers, extend beyond the curriculum. It touches the lives and shape the future. I urge each one of you to take this responsibility with a sense of dedication and pride. Strive for excellence in your teaching, uphold the values of our academic community, and remain committed to the principles of ethical conduct. Let us work together to build an education system that not only produces skilled professionals, but also responsible, compassionate, and engaged citizens. Thank you, and I wish you all the best in this remarkable journey. May you find inspiration, fulfillment, and purpose in this noble profession of teaching through this engaging program called Guru-Dakshta. So I wish all of you very well, and we will try to learn from each other during this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your inaugural speech, sir. As sir has rightly said, that teachers are the main ingredients in maintain and enhancing the quality in higher education. So friends, we are very pleased to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, Professor Dr. Nirja Gupta ji. Namaskar, ma'am. We are very happy to have you in this inaugural session. So, Dr. Nirja ji is presently working as the Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, and she is the role model for working women. So, ma'am, your gestures are always encouraging all of us. So, formally, Dr. Gupta ji successfully shouldered the responsibility as Vice Chancellor of Sanchi University of Buddhist Indic Studies, MP, India. She has also worked as principal of Bhavans College, Gujarat, and has been instrumental in the development the Department of Foreign Studies at Gujarat University, Ahmedabad. Gupta ji credentials include a doctorate degree in English. She has about 36 years of academic research and administrative experience. She is the chief editor of Bharatiya Manyaprat, an international research journal published by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. Her academic excellence is complemented with her proficient knowledge in 2 foreign languages, Russian and Greek, apart from 9 Indian languages such as Hindi, Sanskrit, English, Gujarati, Marathi, Assamese, Urdu, Oriya, Pali, and Prakrit. She has authored 22 books and has more than 60 publications, including research papers, journal articles, conference articles, books, chapters, book review, and varied subjects. Under her guidance, 27 students have successfully completed their PhD. As a distinguished academician and administrator, she plays a key role as a designated member of several distinguished board of and executive councils of various reputed universities and government bodies. She has completed several research projects funded by various national and international funding agencies. Her major areas of interest and proficiency include literature of English, Sanskrit, Pali, Gujarati, Hindi, Indian poetics, Indology, ancient Hindu Sanskrit, and migration studies, Gandhian thoughts, Indian culture and faith, migratory art, and the music. And she is also trained in classical dance Kathak. She was the principal director of the team constituted of Jammu and Kashmir as special region by Ministry of Home Affairs, and the findings were used towards the abrogation of Article of 370 in Jammu and Kashmir by Government of India. So, ma'am, we are privileged to have you in this inaugural session of 18th online faculty induction program. I am requesting for your blessings. Please, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Preeti ji. The director of our MMTC, Dr. Jagdish Joshi ji, the officer from NEPA, the other officers from our center, and dear participants. First of all, I compliment and congratulate all of you for participating in this uh, program, which is well named. I really like the name Guru-Dakshta because each time we exchange the roles of Guru and Shishya. No Guru is a Guru forever, and no Shishya is a Shishya forever. So wonderful to join this program. First of all, I'm really sorry for being a bit late as other meetings were going on. Well, I don't have much to say because once we all have reached to one particular position, and that is the position of being a teacher, we start living our roles. And I'm very sure the young generation who has joined as assistant professors, they already have, encompassed themselves into this role, which is a very beautiful role because no other commodity in the world, and I'm using the word commodity knowingly. I know this is not a market term to be used in teaching, but yes, we have the live material in our hands, and they trust us so much. Our students, our society, our industry, our politicians, our scientists, anyone. You just ask that whom do you respect, and after parents it's always the teacher. So we have that pedestal, that is a very very high pedestal in the society, and it is not new. It has been there since timelessness, like since ages. Each one has a guru, even the guru has a guru. So we have reached to that position, and that is a very fortunate position in our life. My first request is to adopt this position in your life and feel the burden of this position. And when I feel the burden of this position, that means I am not only an individual, I am someone who has to give, keep giving to the society. We don't stop after giving it once. We don't stop after giving it to one batch. We don't stop after giving it to one institution. I always remember Sudama when he says, Shikshak ho sigre jag ko. Of course, Shikshak is the only entity which is same entire in entire world. Wherever you go, you always have to tell, okay, I'm a teacher, and that introduction is enough. So we have taken up that liability, and I think with responsibility we have to perform that. Where the society thinks we are lacking, we have to cover up in these sessions. The very first thing which the society feel we are lacking is our disconnect with the society. They think we are different. They think what we are teaching is different. They think what we are practicing in the campuses is different than from the society. So, our first thing is to reach out to the society. How do we reach out to the society? When we organize a seminar, when we organize a conference, when we organize a workshop, are we really organizing on the local issues, or are we organizing on the Western borrowed themes that will be the solution to the West, that will be the solution to their society? So, first of all, please don't look at the tempting terms like modernism, postmodernism, post-postmodernism, feminism. These are not our issues. These are not our problems. Our problem is the connectedness with the society. Our problem is the tradition. Our problem is the family living together. So we have to connect ourselves to the society. The second lacuna I think has come up is between the degree and the job, that the society thinks that though degree is important but it has no good when it comes to the livelihood. So we need to sit down together and find out where are we lacking, so that our students are not able to cater to the society immediately after the shiksha. And then we realize that our manthan, our punarpat, our what we say giving away to the society, samarpan, these three things are missing right now. So if we revisit our I won't say mythology, because very laughingly, jokingly I say, when he tells the story it becomes history, when I tell my story it becomes mystery. So don't call mythological. These are not myths, because we have the real places. Our places are narrated in writings after writings, not only in India but in entire world. We have to revisit them. It's not only revisiting in books. पुनर्पाठ सिर्फ पुस्तकों में नहीं करना है. पुनर्पाठ उस जगह पे जाके उसकी भौगोलिक और जो उसका डायनामिज्म है, डेमोग्राफी है, उसको देखकर भी करना है. So we have to revisit to our history, to our realities, to our traditions. And then, as I said, we have to understand the connect between the society and the education, which has always been holistic. I find it very amusing that a small class in Kutch starts teaching our young children, rain, rain, go away. Now, Kutch is a desert area. Who says rain, rain, go away? But without any psychological connect, we become machines, and we just keep on telling the things in a mechanical manner without realizing what it would impact in future. In our normal understanding, what do? We give prominence to sciences, maths, technology, and even at the school level, you see the periods before interval will always be English, maths, science, and periods after the interval would be languages, art, dance. So we have forgotten our holistic way of holistic methodology of the education. And there comes NEP. That's what NEP says. The first thing which is important is our mother tongue. If we don't adopt the mother tongue in our day to day thinking, मंथन में, शास्त्र में, बातों में, संवाद में, if we are not using our mother tongue, then we are delineating the student with the critical thinking. So have trust on our own languages, on our own knowledge systems, on our own methodologies, on our own skills, and then only these workshops will be helpful. You are fortunate to join together. So sit down together, talk to each other. Wherever there are doubts, clear up the doubts. If NEP says mother tongue, and if the society says English medium, then how to reach out to the society to tell that how mother tongue will be important for the next future? This job has also, fortunately or unfortunately, has come upon us. So today society has outsourced everything to us, starting from teaching behavior, teaching manners, teaching discipline, to teaching the subject and then making them skillful and finding out a job. The parents have left over their students on to us. With these added burdens, I think our job has become all the more burdensome. all the more responsible, all the more caretaking. And we know how restless this generation is. They have no mental peace. They with AI, they can adopt to any form. So they are into the highest level of creativity of the minds. So we as teacher have to match that creativity for sure. So I once again compliment all of you for joining us at Gujarat University. I welcome you here. Wish you could all have been here present physically, because it's a beautiful estate and you could have visited us. But all the best for your sessions. And I believe we are preparing for a better future with a better teacher management. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your this wonderful guidance to all of us. Ma'am has rightly said that this is Guru-Dakshta program is the journey from Punarpat to re-introspection. So, as she's guided us, that this rereading and return path signifies a deeper understanding and engagement with a text or topic through multiple interaction. So this is very important of Punarpath. This leads us towards deeper understanding involving interpretation, enhanced engagement, recognition of nouns, and application in various fields like literature, history, philosophy, and human being itself. So once again, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, I'm thanking you for your precious time and guidance to all of us. Thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, we have our today's guest of honor, Professor Aarti Srivastavji. Ma'am, I'm welcoming on behalf of MMTTC, Gujarat University. Ma'am is in Professor Aarti Srivastava work is in the Department of Higher and Professional Education, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, NEPA, doctorate from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and master in both economics and education. She has worked in Premier Research Institute of Applied Manpower Research, Planning Commissions, and VV Giri National Labour Institute, Ministry of Labour, University of Delhi, and Banaras Hindu University. While at BHU, she was associated with the Wisconsin University, USA. She has closely contributed to the NCF 2005 and CRT World Social Science Curriculum, Rockefeller funded project in South Asia, as well as been trained at IIEP UNESCO Paris, former coordinator of the National Resource Center for Education and Leadership Program in collaboration with Oxford University UK, Harvard University USA. Professor Srivastava lead the interministerial project with the Australian government and was a special invitee at the BRICS President Forum in China. Professor Srivastava is on the editor board of several indexed journals, apart from having published widely on employability, gender, teaching, learning, and leadership in higher education. Her specialization in higher education, leadership, teacher education, and youth employability. So, ma'am, I'm welcoming you once again on behalf of MMTTC Gujarat University, and I'm requesting you for your guidance. So, please, ma'am.
Thank you, first and foremost, Professor Jagdish Joshi ji, Preeti ji, and Professor Brahmbhatt ji, and of course the Honorable Vice Chancellor who just shared some, very wise words with all of us. So thank you all for having me over. It's always a pleasure to interact with diverse group, and that too a young group, because they have to carry these learnings very far in life. And that so thank you so much for having me over. Now, many things that the Vice Chancellor has said actually, finds is foregrounded in the knowledge of higher education, because how do we come to this particular teaching profession is by getting a master's degree, a PhD, and through a PhD we get further specialized into one small area of our subject. So therefore we are really good in our subject, all of us, because we have a PhD, we have some publications, we work in that area, we teach in that area. But how much do we know about higher education? Very less. If sometimes I ask in my lectures, what are the data sources for higher education, so very few, only a couple of 3-4 people know some sources, not all the sources on higher education. If I ask them, what are the types of institutions in higher education, nobody can tell me all the types of higher education. They know central universities, state universities, and then further on they get a little confused of the kind of typology that is existing in the area of higher education. Then if I ask about policy, very few people, only some participants from education department may know a certain little bit on policy, but most of the people are also quite blank on higher education. So let's look at historically what has gone into making the education, especially higher education, in place here in India. So we see that when we look at the first committee that was set up in education, so that committee was headed by Professor Radhakrishnan, which is also called the University Education Commission. So that is a very robust report available at many of the government sources, and it talks about higher education in a very, very profound manner. He was also the vice chancellor of Banaras Hindu University and a great philosopher. We all know about that. And many times when we think what higher education should be, it should be based on the Radhakrishnan Commission, right? But then let's look at the timing of the Radhakrishnan Commission. The Radhakrishnan Commission was actually in 1948. That means when we got our independence, the first commission that was set up in 1947. Now let's contemporize and see what happened, during the independence period. All our education was actually basically destroyed. If you look at historically, the ancient India was destroyed, the later Vedic period destroyed, so many colonial rulers, all those, so we had almost a negligible proportion and a system of higher education. It's only with the 1857, that the first universities came up, and the 4 universities that did come up were the Kolkata University, the Madras, presidency, the Allahabad, Lahore, and of course, the Bombay. So these were the 5 universities that came up, and which had an affiliating structure. So there was a university and there were affiliated colleges. So this affiliating system came from London University model, that you can have an office and then outsource everything at the college level, so that you can have a conglomerate of colleges working on the higher education. But the literacy rates were far low. Very few people came to higher education. So this became a system of very elite education. Only the Bhadralok, as in Kolkata, we say that only the elite section of the people. And who were the drivers of this? The independence movement. We see all of them. Almost all got their education abroad. Let it be Gandhiji, Nehruji, many others, Ambedkar. All of them were educated abroad. So they were not the products of a domestic education and to bring about that. So what we need to say is that we were talking about higher education, but who are the people getting benefit? Our literacy levels were so low. Our secondary school education was also quite this thing. So the feeder cadre to higher education was absent. Who will come to higher education? Very few, and that to the elite section who had the social and the cultural capital who would come in here. So basically, our country needed something that actually was foregrounded into school education system. So in the school education system, we say that, but it is only in India that we can make a mistake again. So after higher Education Commission, the second committee that was set up in 1952 was the Mudaliar Commission, and it is also called the Secondary Education Commission. So here we see that instead of talking about the foundational level, we only talk from higher education. We come down to only secondary education. So this was the secondary education. So they said the secondary education will lead the pathways to higher education. But who will come to secondary education? It is through a process, a 12-year process that people are able to do their secondary education and then join the university level. So that leveling was not actually really factored in when people. So it is only in 1964, with the setting up of the Kothari Commission. D.S. Kothari was the person that we got the commission report, based on which we get the first education policy in education. The first education policy in education is the 1968 policy. So 1968 policy is the first policy in education, and that is supposed to be a watershed in the history of education. Why? Because it looks at education in a very systematic manner. All the types of education, right from primary to secondary to higher education, vocational education, teacher training, technical education, and all these paths, all these sectors are organically linked to each other. So if a person who passes 10th, he doesn't want to go for higher education, so what he can opt, either he, of course dropout is always an option, but then when he comes out of school, then he can join. If he doesn't want to go for very high level of education, he can join an ITI or a diploma course after that, and then if he wants to continue, then he can continue, otherwise he can just leave and get a job there. So it was very organically linked. So we have the first policy that was formed, and this was a very, very good policy, because of these factors also. But the policy was a very good policy, but implementation still was a challenge. The implementation was very, very absolutely, not there. In fact, when we go around the country, we saw that the D.S. Kothari was a scientist, so he said that let science kits be distributed to each student, so that he sees, he experiences, and is able to use all that. So many times when we go around in the schools, we found that these kits were still packed, because the principals thought that if something happens to these kids, it will be the price of which will be deducted from his salary, and therefore the science kits were for children. Ultimately what we see is that they were the purpose of having science kits got defeated. Also, if I have to take an example, many of you will agree, because we've all gone through that whole process of school education. So we see that SUPW, what did it was supposed to be socially useful productive work, but what we see today is that we used to call it as some useful periods wasted, right? And what did we do there? We did some art and some craft, and some pieces were made, and that were only craft oriented, maybe exhibited, not exhibited, but then how did those become socially relevant? The socially relevant things, to actually to make education, not an ivory tower approach, so that you have a connect with the community, you have to connect with the society in which you're living. That was actually marginalized. So there was craft, yes, and they were graded. Those grades are still there on our merit worksheet, but then it never became socially useful. So this shows the bad implementation of the policy, in the schools and colleges of India. Then next, when we see that there are many examples, like if we see that adult education is basically a derived demand, because if everybody had got right to education right from the time we got independence, then by 68, which was about 10-11 years down the line, and even later, everybody would have been educated. So there wouldn't have been a need to have adult education departments in place in many universities, right? Then we see that we were already late. We were already 21 years late in trying to enunciate this policy for us. But when we see that 21 years, a child that was born is already 21 by the time the first policy, so he doesn't get any benefit of the Indian thinking on education throughout his career, from school to higher education. 21, generally people graduate at that level. So basically, this was, kind of the black spot in the history of higher education. Then we see that, now from 868, we take another couple of decades to get into another policy. That was the 86 policy. So 86 policy had it contemporized all the issues that were mentioned in the Kothari Commission, but it really did not make a departure from the policy 68 policy. So 86, the 68 policy was, again made into 86 policy, with not it it did get, the computerization, the private sector that came in, the NITs, the aptechs, and the uptrons that we see across the nation were basically because when we talked about computer education, many people said that who's going to fund. So the private sector stepped in, and many of us went to these institutions and started our, initial classes on computers in these kind of institutions. Of course, now the generation now with the mobile and everything, available to everybody can now, learn computers. But in the 80s, 86 policy, it was really not possible because computer was seen as a very difficult, complex machine, which was kept in air conditioned rooms, dust free. We had to remove our shoes outside the room and then enter to access the computer. So this was the arena that I'm talking about, and therefore, that was a very good start. So some things were did contemporize, but then most of the things was old, old wine in the new bottles only. Then, from 86, now we have a new national education policy 2020. So from 86 to 2020, how many years down the line do we have a new policy? While things, while the society changes at a very, very fast rate, the 1991 new economic policy actually, made things even faster. The rate of change accelerated way beyond. If you look at pre-91 movies, Bollywood movies, or Gujarati movies, you see the kind of cars. You see that only 2-3 cars were available, around the city, which was the Fiat and the Ambassador, and maybe some other cars that were there. But now, I can remember the pre-1991 era where and the Maruti had come in. So we see the 2, 3, 4 brand cars were available, and we could say, okay, he has this car. But now, every day, even when I'm driving, I see all new models of new, other cars which nobody can remember. I don't think any of us do remember the brands of the cars and the various models that are there in the cars itself. So the change, what I mean to say is that the rate of change, in the society is very, very phenomenal. We have changed the way we eat food. Momos have become a street food that was, not available even to, in the metros also. Right, so the food has changed, the way we dress up has changed, the way we travel has changed, everything has got a sea change. But something that captures it all, which is the field of education, has not changed. That remains static right from 86 to 2020. So now with this new policy coming into NEP 2020, in higher education, it makes a substantial departure from earlier positions. Earlier positions were that we were largely teaching universities, so we, a teachers or a professor, had more work to teach, less to do with research. So they say that, and it captures the diversity. We have 100 student college to a university which has more than 10-20,000 students also. So we have diversity. There are huge campuses, and there is a intake of 100 students college also, single discipline colleges. So it says that one size fits all will not prevail. What we do is that a college teacher with 100 students also has to produce the same API for promotions, and so does a research university where teaching load is very low and you have So when we see that, this is the diversity that is there. So the national education policy says that, we should disperse this one size fits all formula. So we should have a research university, a teaching university, and autonomous colleges. Now the Moldian idea of teaching and research that we talk about has to be there overall. But a research university will have about 80% research and 20% teaching. Similarly, a teaching university, which is largely the state universities, will have 80% teaching and 20% research, and the autonomous colleges will have 80% teaching and 20% research, but teaching will take place at the undergraduate level only. So that is the typology that the new the National Education Policy 2020 talks about. Now it talks about multidisciplinarity. Now multidisciplinarity is a very good idea, because we can dwell in so many kinds of different disciplines and not be confined to a discipline. So therefore we have interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary approaches in higher education, and that actually solves a lot of many problems. So the Einstein and Mozart had the same skills. One put it to music, the other put it to physics. So basically, your creative skills are the same. It's the area in which you put in, and there is a lot of concurrence between a music instrument and the physics department, because sound is studied technically. Sound that is produced in the music departments is technically studied in the physics department. So a synergy between the two departments will enhance both the theory and the practice of music together. Similarly, I saw that when I was in BHU, that home science and the medical, if they have a good interface, so how do we increase nutrition through various methods experimented in the medical schools, in several other kind of things, that we can actually work upon that. So this kind of interface always helps, helping the students and the teachers to get to work in a fashion that is always desirable by the society. So NEP has been kind of implemented in pan India situation, barring some cases kid on the block, no longer such a kid, but the digital transformations and the online learning. So we see that online learning, we are right now talking to each other in an online fashion. So it's so convenient and cost effective. Initial investment in online is high, because you need to procure your computers, the internet facilities and all that. But over a period of time, so many courses will get completed by the Gujarat University in online mode, and everybody will benefit without spending on the travel and so many other allied areas, that come with exchange. The participants need to travel, the resource person needs to travel, and all the bills need to be settled. So this becomes a very, very cost effective way in dealing with higher education, right? So also, till now we used to say that teaching and learning was always hyphenated, because good teaching was always facilitated learning, and learning happened but now the new technology mediated learning. So technology, how much to choose and how much not to use is what the teacher is able to express to the students. So it is, technology is very good in trying to find the resource something which the national education policy talks about, because we have the target of Viksit Bharat as 50% GR in higher education. Right now we are at 27.3% at GR, so we almost need to double now without much funding in higher education across institutions. This is a very good way to enhance our GR in higher education. Then of course, we have to also focus on resource mobilization, that because now 65% share of private sector is there in higher education. So 65% of share in higher education is a large number. So the government share in higher education is only about 35%. So we need to think about, the government also needs to think about resource mobilization, the government institutions, so that we are able to deliver quality education to all, So we we have to see that how we can increase our resources through alternative methods of financing, through public private partnerships, and to innovative methods of financing also. So all those things we need to really configure into our systems to give the best to our students. So also the skill based and experiential learning. So how to impart skills, so that is very important, that every because most of the employability reports say that our graduates are unemployable. So the skill training actually will make them more employable, and we have the outcome based education in which we have program outcomes and also the course outcomes. So in the program outcomes and course outcomes, it is very clearly written that what to expect from the student who has done this program or this course. So making basically telling the employers that these are the kind of skills and the cognitive changes that you can see in that particular student. Then of course all institutions are going international. So internationalization is a big big way. So internationalization happens in four modes: the student mobility, teacher mobility, the program mobility, and of course the institutional mobility. So students mobility, if we see that despite the study in their program, we see the highest number of students going to US, then Europe, and then Australia. We see very few students from these countries coming to India trying to do subjects that are considered to be competitive. So many students who come to India actually want to learn Hindi or Gujarati or say Tamil, or the Indian temples or the culture, but not very many students come to India to do computer science. Right? So why? Because unless, despite the twin advantage, India has two advantages. We have low fees and low cost of living. So we have the twin advantage, but despite that, we see very people, because we lack somewhere the quality. So we have to enhance our quality in all the departments so that we can attract the best kind of students. Then same thing with the teachers, that despite the Gyan program, Gyan 1, Gyan Plus program, we see that the teachers are not interested in coming to India. So that becomes a huge issue. Many teachers want to go abroad. I'm sure all of you want to go abroad. Am I right? All of you want to go abroad? Yes. So everybody wants to go abroad, but how many teachers who are working abroad want to come to India? A very, very low number. People in the neighboring countries like Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka might be interested in coming to India, but not beyond that. Our reach is very, very limited. So therefore, we need to really enhance that. So, in the program mobility with joint, dual degree, and the twining programs, we see that these are not being very successful because we don't have a credit structure in place for exchange. So therefore, we have a few instances here and there for the joint and the joint degrees or the twining program, but not very big, because the credits become this thing. Because in the credits, we are I was part of the framework committee on credit. So we say that even US and all are not very sure of the credits. They give ECTS in Europe gives you notional hours. Now here in India, if you give notional hours, probably people, students will not go to the library and go out in the canteen and sit and over a cup of tea. So, but how do you increase the notional hours, and how do you bring that equivalence is something that we are still fumbling with, despite having the academic credit bank, which also there are huge issues. We are some of our colleagues in NEPA are still working on that, and that shows that we have announced a lot of things, but implementation remains. The challenge is of the implementation. And of course, in institutional mobility, we see that some of the universities, especially the Australians, have come in your neighborhood, in the gift city of Gujarat, where you have some universities that are coming, and some have expressed their interest in coming to India. But when we had a survey, very few foreign institutions want to come in India. Why? Because they said that the merit cannot be cloned. So if Harvard comes to India, it will not be the Harvard that we see in US. Similarly, Oxford, if it comes to India, it will not be the Oxford that we see in UK. So what happens is that then there will be discrimination, that if you have a degree of Oxford from India, you'll be rated low, and Oxford degree from UK will be the thing. So we will not be able to maintain quality therein, and therefore that becomes a huge challenge. Also, we have to build in employability. We have to develop research ecosystem, because research is very, very cost intensive. So, when we say, research, science is very, very high. Their machines cost a lot. In fact, for the Institution of Eminent Study, I visited none other than the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. So they said that, that the amount that was given to this thing is still far low. They said that for one microscope, that was an example given by the director. They said that one microscope that the students have to wait for 15 days, right? But if you go to Stanford and other very reputed places, they have 50 such microscopes. So the waiting time is, just half an hour, and when we compare to India, 15 days. So that is the difference. So that funding, to procure those many microscopes of that standard will require a lot of funding. So our funding, so we need to really make, funding available for research, both in social science and science. In science, they also said, that the research grant should factor in the publication grant, because many of the Scopus journals that are there for science are also paid journals. So all those problems persist, and therefore we don't see our names, in the top high ranking institutions, world ranking, whether it's a Time ranking or it's the Shanghai ranking. We don't see our names in the top 100. So there is a slight shift here and there, but not much, takes place there. Then, of course, we are talking about, many issues like, the governance. Governance is a very typical issue in higher education, because, that is what they say, that, all the different statutory bodies, the 17 statutory bodies of professional education and UGC, all should be merged into one. But who will actually be there to understand the nuances? If there is one body, now the same person cannot understand medical education as much as he understands engineering education. Therefore, within putting them in one building is fine, but having the kind of the dedicated people for engineering and for medical or for dental, or for, for that matter, teacher education or everything, have to be very, very different, because the nuances of higher education cannot be done by one person itself. So therefore, we should have a desegregation there. And governance, especially because, all universities are autonomous, including yours, right? You have your own statutes, you have your own rules, you have your this thing. And then the UGC, which is the regulatory body, sends you one size fit all regulations. So many a times, we have seen some studies here in NEPA, that many a times, with the change of regime, like, sometimes they say, okay, it's said the appointment in the colleges will be centralized. Sometimes they say, no, they should be college specific. So these kinds of things are a matter of debate even till today, after having so many policies in place. And therefore, what I'm saying is that, the policy talks about very, very good, utopian ideas. In fact, that's really utopian, that everything that they talk about is really utopian. But how do we manage it in the Indian context is the issue. How managing means implementation, and managing and monitoring and evaluating all those things is an issue. So therefore, it's a huge challenge to, deal with a sector as huge, because we are massified. We are at the first stage of massification. We are aiming very high massification. So how do we actually manage this huge sector? Different kinds of teachers, different kinds of specializations, different kinds of, very many. There's a huge. So how do we manage that with one single scale? I think is a problem, and therefore we need to, have that desegregation, within the higher education, in order to support it in a very meaningful way. So with that, I end my formal this thing. I'll be happy if somebody has, a question. I'll be very happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Aarti ma'am, for your very experienced, knowledgeable guidance to all of us. So once again, thank you on behalf of MMGTC Gujarat University. Ma'am has makes us aware about today's scenario of higher education, past, present, and future of higher education, probability and challenges in higher education. So, ma'am, thank you so much. As we know that the NEP 2020's core objective is to provide equitable and inclusive education to all, ensuring that no child is left behind, strives to bridge the rural, urban, and gender gaps in education while also promoting multilingualism and multiculturalism. So, ma'am has also gave us guidance about all of this. Um, the national education policy is built upon four core pillars, and we all are aware about the four pillars of it: access, equity, quality, and accountability. So, friends, now it's a high time to sharpen our axe because we are moving step towards the new education policy 2020. So, once again, ma'am, thank you so much for guiding us with your vast knowledge and experience. Now, I'm requesting my senior most colleague of MMGTC Gujarat University, Professor Dr. Chandrakant Brahmbhattji, for the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
ચંદ્રકાંતભાઈ આપનું માઇક મ્યુટ છે, અનમ્યુટ કરજો. યસ, ઓકે.
Very good, madam. Good afternoon, everyone. I especially thanks to our respected Vice Chancellor, Dr. Nija madam, for accepting our invitation and for being here with us today. Madam, your speech have truly inspired us. I am also thankful to our registered respected Dr. Prajapati sir for always supporting and guiding us. We appreciate the presence of our chief guest, respected Dr. Arti Madam, who kindly accepted our invitation and shared valuable insight. I also thankful to all the resource persons who stand with us and present here. I would like to thanks to our respected director, Dr. Jagdish sir, my colleague Priti Madam, and our supporting staff who work hard for preparation of this course. Last but not the least, I thankful to all the participants who gather here for making this program a great success. Once again, I thank you for your presence and contribution. Let's work together to achieve great things. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, madam.
Oh, thank you so much, sir, for thanking
Thank you,
all
ma'am,
of
for
us.
your valuable time and
Thank you.
really inspiring speech. For the participants, your session will start in 5 minutes. So you will be shared a link in your WhatsApp group, and you can join your session, another session after 5 minutes. Thank you, Vanessa. We call it a day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.